I really doubt that we should be in the business of always teaching men to be nice men or something like that. We need more men who are masculine in their original forms.
Any man who works at an NGO and is said to be pro-feminist, he needs to be questioned his whole, masculinity.
If you are a strategic man, it means that you are managing the force you have.
Don't break the bank to marry a woman. Hello, how are you? How are you guys? I hope you're doing okay. And this is another episode of Here's the Thing podcast with the one and only Shadaya Night. Yes. As you can see, I'm already drinking. Yes, I start drinking early in the morning. Anyways, let's get to the show. For this episode, I had to bring in a mafudanga, unagafunda, an educated person. With me is, a well-decorated academy, Mr. Kwenda. Can you present yourself to the people, Mr. Kwenda?
Yeah, thank you so much. Whenever you say most decorated person, obviously people expect more. But my name is Shanis Kwenda, and I am a social scientist, and I love to research on gender issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say drove you, into, that path?
Yeah. The society we are living today is more like a contested arena, and some have actually referred to it as a society where it is being a society that is being created and recreated on daily basis, and you can hardly talk about a society that can be recreated or created without making reference to gender or to gender wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gender wars. So
Yes.
there are gender wars happening.
Yeah, many people believe so.
Okay. How do you respond, to this so-called gender war? Which side would you pick? Let's say if you were a part of this gender war.
Yeah, picking a side would be very difficult, but I will go with the one that is not being recognized.
Which is?
For me, yeah, of course, as an individual, I have my own biases, but I think there's an asymmetrical relationship whenever we are talking about vulnerability in society. Male vulnerabilities are not recognized.
Which gender would you say is being underrepresented when people talk about issues?
Like I said, I think men are becoming absent in the public discourse on various issues, be it legal, be it politics. They are being, or their interests are being swept under the carpet. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk with relation to academia.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you say that men are being excluded, in the greater scheme when it comes to academia?
Yeah, to a certain extent they are, because if you are to just a simple Google search, you realize that men are becoming, what can I say, they are withdrawing from formal education institutions, and they are excluded by the current social structures that are in place.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. I was reading this other article, and they were celebrating that we now have more women graduating compared to men. And then the statistics were even, scary for men. They were saying that many men are now no longer seeing the importance, or they are pulling away from, furthering their education.
Yes, that's the reality of the matter, and it's being ignored.
Why would you say men are pulling away from, furthering their studies?
There are several issues. There are limiting factors. Let's talk, for example, when one wants to study maybe medicine or law at maybe a reputable university, the entry points, if you are maybe to think of it, we can give an example of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
You see, they will be saying cut-off points when you want to study this degree. If you are a male student, you need 15 points. But if you're a lady, you need maybe
10.
less or something like that. And it is done in the name of correcting historical injustice that were experienced by women.
So, in other words, women are being pushed into, academia
Yeah.
without merit. The merit part is being removed.
Yeah, it could be very difficult to accept, but it seems as if that's the case, because if you are saying 15 points
For the male, 10 points for the female.
Yeah, and it's called fairness.
I think that you guys, Shadaya is always saying that men are far more superior. So when now academia says, for the sake of the example, 15 points for men and 13 for women, we are in a fair plane because you already said you guys are superior. So at 15, we can't match up. So if we're at 13 and you're at 15, then we stand a chance to be equal because you're superior. So when men fail to get to 15, men are failing. Not that women are being pushed. You said you're already in failure.
Okay. Now, which means you are agreeing with me that men and women are not equal. Because
biologically,
if we have to, to put you into certain positions out of pity, it means men and women are not equal.
It's not out of pity. It's recognizing the different circumstances.
Wisha.
Biology.
So, I've always had this problem.
Yeah.
I've always had this problem when I was back in varsity. Yeah, I'm actually educated as well. When I was in varsity, I wanted to do law.
Yeah.
I wanted to study law. I ended up studying something else. When I applied for law, I was told that I needed to have 14 or 15 points, right? And the females who ended up studying law, some of them even had 9 points. 9 points.
Yes.
How is that fair?
Yeah, it's something that is not fair. If we are to use the same word or to use the same meaning of the word fairness, because it's not ending there. Mm-hmm. It's even proceeding to institutions like institutions of higher learning, where decisions are, or even at a policy level. And you find women now draft the policies. I'm not saying I'm against that. I'm simply saying we are seeing now the absence of men in decision making processes, and you see that even the laws you end up having laws that are skewed in favor of women, and the most painful thing is that very few people seem to notice that men are now on the margins. In as much as we're saying we are trying to address the historical injustices that were maybe perpetrated against women, yeah, I think ethically that's fine. If we are trying to address a particular or a tangible issue that has been affecting a particular group or a particular gender, that's okay. But if we end up creating another problem, that's unacceptable, I think.
In the legal framework,
Yeah.
you were saying men are being excluded.
Yeah.
They are being marginalized.
Yeah.
Can you explain further? Like maybe giving examples.
Sorry, by who? I need you guys to explain who is doing this marginalization and who is removing men. Because
the policymakers.
who? Are you guys not also policymakers as men?
No, we've got people who make decisions.
Yes.
And we know the people who make decisions.
Yes.
Yes, the people who make decisions, for some reason, they seem to make or I would say how do I explain it? The policies they are pushing towards, they favor women more than men. And I would understand the reason why they are doing this is this. The majority of the voter base, it's women. Everywhere around the globe, the policymakers, they seem biased towards women because women are what? The voter base. Satisfy the women, you remain in power. Simple as that.
I think women, being the majority, are more vocal than men, such that maybe it looks like our issues are being there. But it's like, I don't know. Let's just get an example of like the Me Too movement or the purple wallpaper movement. And men also say, we also face gender-based violence. We also face all these issues. So what? You guys want us to stand up for your issues as well? We're standing up for our own issues. And now we must also stand up for men's issues. Men must stand up for their own issues. Our issues are being addressed because we are going out and we are talking about them. We are addressing them. We are making noise about them. How many men are making noise about their own issues?
Point of correction. Okay. When you say that women are raising their issues, women, in as much as they may claim that they are raising their issues, the only reason why any attention is being paid to their issues is because of the policymakers. And like I always say, in general, if you look at the majority of policymakers, they seem to be, we're in the studio, there are certain words I cannot use, right? They seem to be lust-driven. That's why they end up making policies that favor women. Because tell me, why would someone wake up and decide that with regards to, let's say, marriage, right? Laws surrounding marriage. For some reason, they would decide that if a man and a woman who are married and they decide at some point in time to split their union, right? The woman has to take half of what the man worked for. In what universe does that even make sense?
Yeah, of course, maybe at law and maybe based on what is written, they said that it should be based on contributions made.
Yes.
But you and I know that
the reality
that experience men. So when we are trying to say men are not speaking out, men are, it's not like men. A masculine man generally doesn't want to be associated with rage,
because
or
if
aggression or whatever you may call it. That masculinity that is generally referred to as toxic masculinity. Men who are masculine, they focus on issues. So they don't thrive on emotionalism to say, no, me too, like the example you were giving. They thrive on real issues. Like they try to withdraw by all means from public rage because they are generally not attention seeking beings. Yeah, something like that. So you end up seeing men trying to create their informal gatherings where they discuss issues. But if you are to think about the safe spaces for men to discuss their real issues, you realize that we do not have such. The ones we have, they are very, very, very few, and they are limited in scope. And they are also, by all means, trying to create what is called positive masculinity. I'm not saying that's bad, but what I'm simply saying is, whenever you are trying to define men in terms of maybe being a real man, was pushing you to define a man in such terms, because I really understand masculinity is something that is positive already
in itself.
Yes, we need men, more masculine men, not just. And we now have a serious pandemic because
of a lack of masculinity.
Yes, it's now it's just a global pandemic. It's no longer an African problem or a Zimbabwean problem, because you are aware that the discourse that is being pushed, because what we are doing here today is not something that can get funders, but we are not even attacking anyone. But we are talking about real issues. Why is it that we are seeing that men are disadvantaged in society, but they are not recognized?
And when I say disadvantaged, you may doubt it, but if you check the statistics, I actually brought statistics today. Last time, you were complaining, you are saying things out of your head. So I brought you, a few statistics. Let me go into them. Okay. Let's talk about, for first and foremost, let's talk about, I would say something like men being homeless. You'd find that when it comes to homeless in Africa, this is referring to Africa, this is a study done by the UN, right? You'd find that the highest populations, like the gender with the highest number of people who are homeless, they tend to be men. But for some reason, you say men are at an advantage. How are they advantaged when the majority of them are homeless? Mm-hmm. And it goes on further to say that homelessness takes away at least 15 to 20 years from the life expectancy of a human being.
Why are they homeless?
Because they've got nowhere to live.
Because of the decisions that they made sometimes.
No, it's not about the decisions. It's about being excluded from the economy.
From the formal structures. Because remember, okay, maybe to just share some statistics that are very sad. If you are to look at the global statistics on suicides, it is said, according to those reputable sources like the UN, in every 100,000 people or men, you find 18 of them committing suicide. But who is talking about that? Because men are just men. They are treated as robots, I think.
They're expendable.
Because we are not just talking about a mere statistic or whatever, something. We are talking about lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think you train men to be, to not be emotional and not speak up sometimes. Like just on average, the African men don't speak up, don't express your emotions so much. Now that we're having these issues, who do you expect to speak up for you, these issues? Men are not standing up for themselves, if I'm being honest. Because if you guys say in the home...
What I like the most when people say that men are not emotional, that is why they end up,
they're not expressing.
Or they're not expressing.
Yeah. Yes.
They are not emotionally expressive.
Yeah.
I think it's because people ignore the biological design of a man. When they want men to be emotionally expressive, they think that the same way a woman is emotionally expressive is the same way a man will be emotionally expressive. But it's different now. Because the main hormone that is active in a man is testosterone. And testosterone tends to what? To make you aggressive. You see? So if men were to give into these emotions, they are giving into aggression. And when men express aggression, bad things happen. I don't want to lie to you. Yes. So when you encourage men to be emotional, you are rather saying men should be violent.
And at the same time, we are moving away from, I think I can confidently say I promote or I advocate for strategic masculinity against maybe
the traditional
way, or those that are coming up as a result of funding. We will be saying
the positive masculinity.
Because what I think about strategic masculinity, the masculinity that understands that for me to be masculine, I don't need to be like someone who is just exploding. If you are a strategic man, it means that you are managing the force you have. You have the strength. You have the power to destroy. You have the weapon to destroy, but you just choose not to. Then you are a disciplined and strategic man. I think that's more reasonable than to say you should be emotional. Being emotional, it doesn't mean you should be crying in public. No, that's not it.
I think also when we speak about being emotional, you
Yeah.
guys look at it from the lens of saying of a woman. Because in men's minds, majority, when we say emotion, you're thinking crying, tantrums, and all of that. But when I say men are not in touch, let's use an example of employment. We both have been struggling me and Shadaya have been struggling to find employment. And we are, it's been a year. We've both been trying and struggling.
Yeah.
How am I going to express that? And how is Shadaya going to express that? Shadaya has just said men become violent. All I'm saying is he has to be in touch with his emotion, accept what's going on, find someone to talk to, and acknowledge the emotion. He will not want to do that because he's a man. On the other hand, as a woman, every time another woman starts to speak to me, I would tell her my issues, and that is what helps. But men, because now I'm not talking about emotion, I'm not saying Shadaya should cry and throw a tantrum and be sulking all day, but how often do men sit and talk about actual issues that are not women, that are not my baby, my small house?
Again.
Do men actually sit and have these
Yes.
conversations?
Again,
Yeah.
you bring up an interesting, point. You were giving an example of employment, how we would handle unemployment.
Yes.
How men handle it and how women handle it. We are never going to handle it the same. Because do you know why?
Why?
For you, it's an option. For me, it's a must.
Yeah.
Let me explain for you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is this. For you as a woman, you can be unemployed and still be able to live a life. For me as a man, once I'm unemployed and I don't have any source of income, it means I don't have a life.
You are dead.
I'm dead. Everything
yeah.
that happens in my life depends on me having a source of income. Me being loved by a woman depends on me having a source of income. Me having the respect of my children depends on me having a source of income. Me being looked at by my peers depends on me having a source of income. So it's different how we are going to handle such pressure. You see?
Yes, yeah.
Success is a must for men and it's an option for women. And that is one thing that women don't understand.
Yes. Yeah, even if you are to look at the current statistics of unemployment, I wouldn't say women are not affected by the same in Africa. They are affected. But when it comes to men, it's something different. You can connect the dots up to the suicides we were talking about, because a man is thinking about providing. But when we are saying providing, we are not necessarily talking, especially in the African sense, we are not actually necessarily talking about providing for your wife, you provide for the collective, the extended family, the community itself. You should be providing. You should also be protecting. And remember, with modernity, employment or formal employment becomes something that was associated with the success and with provision itself. So now that we are having a serious unemployment crisis, men are always struggling, but they are not like idle. They are trying to do something. They are participating in upgrading their skills, which I think is a very, very good attribute of a masculine man. You should quickly adapt and survive without blaming. Because a normal, or what can I say? Maybe I should say a strategic man will obviously focus on upgrading himself and also running away from being fixated on complaining, being a victim. That's why I think Shadaya always talks about that. We know that you're a victim, but there's no point of always telling us that I am a victim.
And
You
that-
should, yeah.
That's what I was trying to explain on the previous episode when I was saying, as a man, you have no reason to be telling me that you are not happy with your job. You are not even supposed to be happy with your job. Your job is just a means for you to be able to provide, to be able to protect.
Yeah.
But now, with the influence you've had on these men, telling them to be these expressive men, they are not happy with their jobs and they are expressing that. They are being emotional. I'm not happy with my job. These are the men you have created now. The men who can't provide. A man who quit a job because he's not happy. It's toxic at my workplace. Who cares about your workplace being toxic?
Comrade, you should be providing.
You should be
You
providing.
should be protecting.
You should be protecting. Because there are people who depend on you.
Yeah.
But then, are you also understanding that the times have changed for women? This model would have worked when marriage was guaranteed for every woman, when provision and protection from a man was guaranteed. Nowadays, speaking from previous conversations about marriage, who qualifies for marriage, etc., it's no longer guaranteed for women. Women also pay black tax. Women also are expected to contribute to communities. Fathers are having family of daughters, and daughters are expected to make the same contributions. Imagine you are 35, single, unmarried, and who is going to take care of you? You come from the slums.
How does someone get to 35 unmarried as a woman?
Sometimes it's disadvantage.
No. It's a result of what? The brainwashing being done to women. There is more to your life. You need to do more with your life.
And you see what? I think whenever we are talking about men versus women, these are not adversaries. They are not. They should be complementary.
They
Yes.
interdepend on each other.
So there is this narrative that is being pushed: men are monsters. They may not say men are monsters, but the narrative being pushed today is that men are unreasonable, they are forceful, they are ruthless, something like that. But even if we are to, without necessarily Christianizing the conversation, if you are to read the oldest book, the Bible, one of the oldest books, the Bible, you realize that the God is presented in the Hebrew Bible actually acknowledged or found it very, very important to have hierarchy. Okay, the importance of hierarchy is not about oppressing, but it's all about order. Even in society, our Zimbabwean society, our African society, we need that hierarchy for a society to be balanced, for a society to be functional, for order to exist. Because we cannot all be leaders. We cannot all be presidents. We cannot all be family heads. So God instituted the idea of what? Male headship. Mm-hmm. And everyone is against that nowadays. But male headship is not about oppressing. It's all about protecting, providing, and preserving order. Because now we are now having what? A chaotic world where the family as an institution, the most functional institution, I think, in society, before education, before any other institution you may think of, the family.
I think we're not against being led. It's a matter of, like what you're saying, men should be the head. If we're coming from it from a Christian perspective, yes, women agree with that. Women want to be led. But now men think that the only merit they have to lead is just they are a man. They don't have to have the qualities of a leader. If that was the case, that people can just lead with no qualities, anyone would be president, anyone would be a church leader. But you need to have certain qualities for you to lead even the smallest and first institute, that is a family. Because if we look at the outline in a university, at a school, there has to be a leader. And he has to get to a certain level, he or she, there has to be merited. You don't just, we're talking about the normal functional way, not the corruption. But if for you to be headmaster, you have to have earned your way to get there. People will respect you, people will what? Same way for you to be a respectable father and husband, you have to have, but not just because you are a man. Sometimes people are fighting against being led by men that have no discipline, do not know how to protect, and then you just want to say you must lead just because you are a man.
Again, who is raising these men?
Exactly.
Who is raising this generation of men?
We go back
All
to
of
the issue of
us.
socialization.
Socialization.
Yeah.
Who is raising these men?
The men and the women, parents.
No, the men have been, castigated out of raising children. Even if you look at, let's go to, he was talking about the legal framework surrounding marriage, divorce. Yeah. let's talk about it. When a man and a woman separate, who takes the kids?
The able parent.
Who takes the kids? Let's be realistic. Let's not try to run around. Who takes the kids? It's the woman.
Or maybe
right?
we can say
The able parent, because I know
let me
of
finish.
families and
Let me
homes that
finish.
way. I know kids that were
nine,
raised
nine
by
out
fathers.
of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, the mother is given custody of the children, right? And the father now ends up being a visitor to his own children. He has to talk with the woman.
You guys don't want that
To be
responsibility.
given days when he can see.
Do
his
men
own
actually
children.
want that
Men want their
responsibility?
children. Men want their children. That's the truth.
Deadbeat fathers all
And
around
then you're
the world.
complaining about that.
Deadbeat fathers that are not
No.
seeing their children. Men don't want
You
that
are
responsibility.
complaining. I'm talking about, these situations. We've got many kids who are growing up thinking that their fathers never wanted anything to do with them.
Yeah.
When it was just a mother who wanted to prove a point. That's the reality on the ground. But nobody talks about these things. And if a man goes to court and say, my wife or my ex-wife is denying me custody to my children, they'll ask, why? Why should I be asked why is my woman, is my ex denying
This
me
just
access to my
shows
children?
that you, from my experience and knowledge, the court itself, when it comes to children, the court puts children first, not the squabble between the mother and the father. This is from knowledge and experience. The children go to the able parent. The reason why most of the time the children go to the mother is because the fathers rarely, I'm not saying, we're not talking about the one outlier or the what. We're talking about on average. If you go on social media and you ask this, rarely do fathers also want to stay with their children. Fathers are gladly wanting to go on with their lives because you guys, even in a functional household, day to day that people are married, how often do fathers actually involve themselves in the lives of the children? You just want to provide and protect. Okay. So after divorce, you go through the same thing. Majority of the men don't want that responsibility outside of paying for school fees and all of that. That's why the children, most of the time, we're not talking about the outliers, the ones.
Do you get what's happening here?
So before that, I think I should maybe before I respond or I say what I want to say. What do you mean by the able parent?
The able parent is subjective. It depends.
From your own perspective.
Yeah, you maybe you're understanding.
Emotionally, financially, depending on the issue. If one person, maybe they're both financially stable, but one is a drug abuser, the one that's more available, the one that does. When I mean the able, I mean, no, why I'm saying the able, it's circumstantial. It could just be a situation of who is capable of being in the children's lives. Because what we don't want to do is give Shadaya the children and he pays for the school fees, but he never sees them. He doesn't get involved. You're not the one that's capable. Then give to someone that is involved to see the welfare of the child. In which home are the children's interests best served? That's where the children
And
go.
that is what I have, an issue with. You trivialize the role of a father in a child's life. You talk about this thing like this. You're saying that fathers just look at children as, their responsibility to children is to what? To provide for them, to pay for their school fees. But you miss, the whole picture. Do you know that this man is sacrificing his life in order to provide these children that good life that they have? It's not that he doesn't want to be involved daily into, these children's lives.
Yeah.
But if he wants to be involved, then it means that he has to give up the source of income that gives these children the good life that they have. That is why you see now men, I was talking about it recently, men live a sad life. They will sacrifice their lives, their whole lives, doing the very best they can for their own children. And then when their children grow up and they are now able to fend for themselves, these children will now accuse this man of saying, you were never there. They will never look at it from this point. This man was never there because he was working as hard as he can to provide what? To provide the good life that you had.
Yeah. And
fathers are abandoned in their old age. Not because they did anything wrong, but because kids feel that because he wasn't involved daily, then he didn't love me.
That just goes to show you that money is not the only thing that should raise a child.
Money is not the only thing that should raise a child, but
Yes.
money is one of the most important things when raising
But
a
Shadaya,
child.
last week you were saying to us
Yes,
that we should have
that's
children
why we
and we
say
don't have
balance.
money.
That's
we
why
said we
we're
don't
saying
have money, and
balance.
you said have children, have children.
That's
have
why I
children.
was saying there is need for balance. The man provides, and then the woman nurtures. But now when you split this, there's no interdependence anymore. The man is no longer able to what? To provide. The woman is no longer able to what? To nurture. She now has to assume the role of the man, or the man has to assume the role of the woman as well. Men
Yeah.
need women. Women need men. We need each other. But you guys are saying, no, we don't want that.
Yeah.
That's the problem we have today.
So
No, we don't. We
so,
never
so
said we
at
don't
the same
want
time,
men.
so at the same time, I think there's this maybe narrow understanding of protection and provision. When we are talking about protection, we are not just talking about protection in terms of finance or economic, whatever, economic basics. No. Protection can be extended to issues like the content of information you get should be protecting even the children.
Discipline.
Yes, you are protecting them from accessing certain things, not because you don't love them, but because you want to raise kids who are leaders, kids who are socially, or what can I say, and economically responsible. So protection, it doesn't mean you are protecting from physical harm. You can be protecting them from accessing harmful information from social media. But for a mother now, she will definitely say
Facts.
you need this smartphone and you can even watch pornography. It's fine. But a father normally fathers are not like loved the way mothers are loved, because fathers are very firm in providing the leadership that is necessary for the family.
9 out of 10 times, a drug addict was raised by a single mother.
An absent father.
By a single mother.
Absent father.
9 out of 10 times.
Absent father.
So you see, fathers are what?
It's not
very, very, very important.
When we speak about
But-
this single mother issue, we like to. What I don't like about it is that we like to fault the women. Why are we not faulting the absent? If you know your role in a child's life is that important as the father, why are you absent? What are we teaching men in masculinity if we are saying to them, stay absent? Because you know
Do
how
you know-
important the role is.
Well,
Why are you absent?
So this is the problem we're talking about. The lived realities of men are not recognized. The day-to-day sufferings or pains that men go through, they are just ignored.
The funny thing when she was talking about, the single mother pandemic, the funny thing is this.
Oh, it's another pandemic.
It's a pandemic.
Absent father pandemic.
Okay. I was reading a funny statistic. It's actually true, by the way. It said that, do you know that 60% of men have never reproduced? Only 40% of men have reproduced. And then women, 80% of women have reproduced.
Yeah.
Only 20% of women have
Yeah.
not reproduced. Now, meaning these absent fathers, they are part of what? The 40%, the minority.
Yeah.
The 60% has never reproduced, but we are being blamed.
Yeah.
Why?
So what I think is maybe it's in our nature as human beings to want to be free, or to be given the freedom to choose without facing the consequences. Yes, you should choose whomever you want to procreate with, but you should also be equally responsible for
And
the
I ask
consequences.
this, again, I ask this.
Father, so we're blaming the men too, right?
No, I ask this. Why is
I
it
didn't
that
blame anyone.
when men, okay, let me land. I want to ask this. When a man does something bad,
Yeah.
right? Let's say a man rapes a woman, a man abandons his family, a man kills a woman. Do you know what's the narrative that is pushed? Men are killing women, right? And then the same thing happens with a woman. A woman takes advantage of a young child. A woman kills a man. It's never the collective. It's just this particular woman is a bad woman. But for us, you are not singled out. It's the whole collective. Men are doing this. But for women, it's never the collective. It's a particular woman did this.
Yeah, so
That is the problem.
Yeah. So this is the problem with maybe with having a backlash against men instead of just sitting down and talking about the real issues that are experienced by men. And when I'm focusing on men, it doesn't make me someone who is saying women should not be empowered. No, I'm just saying these comrades are also experiencing problems that are worth solving. But today, no one wants to
Do we
talk
even
about
have NGOs targeting men?
I really doubt if you can funding, because I think you can hardly survive in the NGO sector without funding. So people generally choose to to associate with themselves with the discourse that is
Where the money is, they follow the money.
Yeah. So I think real empathy or real social justice initiatives should be focusing on the issues, even the issues that are not funded. Because if you want to be, we're talking about men who are feminists. I'm not saying it's bad as an individual. I don't have any problem with the men who are feminists.
It's bad.
But my question is, do you think they will still continue to be feminist if funding is removed?
Any man who works at an NGO and is said to be pro-feminist, he needs to be questioned his whole, masculinity. I don't think he's a man.
Yeah. So what I really think is by advocating or by recognizing the problems that are faced by men, we are not even saying women are not facing their own problems. So whenever you focus on men, you are labeled. He's against
Sexist.
women. No, I'm not against women, but I'm just focusing on men who are also facing
breast
facing
cancer.
the same
breast
problems.
cancer. Let's talk about breast cancer. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the hype that goes around breast cancer?
Yes.
Every year, each year out.
Yes.
Do you know that women who are suffering from breast cancer, their number is very, very, very little compared to the number of men suffering from prostate cancer?
So why are men not speaking more about prostate cancer? Who do you want to speak for you? Must we also speak about
No,
breast cancer?
I'm just saying.
prostate
Okay,
cancer?
no, I think we should.
I'm just saying.
We should not say men are not saying something, but let's think in terms of systems. All right, even if you are to say men are dying because of prostate cancer, so what?
So what?
Because remember, we are living in societies that have systems, that have some policies after all. And it's very difficult for us to push such narratives. And I'm not saying we need that attention, but at least we cannot implement or cannot solve problems without money. And who is willing after all to...
Because if you were to say, let's have a men's only prostate cancer march, how many men would show up?
They would show up.
Compared to saying a woman's breast cancer march.
Because
women show up.
You are removing a very important
money.
thing.
Money. People follow money. People follow money, my guy. There is no money when you are handling men's issues. But
Yes.
there is money when you are handling women's issues.
That
is why I'm telling you, the majority of men who are advocating for women's rights, women's issues, if you remove the dollar, if you remove the money, those men would cease to be advocates for women's rights, advocates for women equality. They would cease to do that.
You can actually see maybe a comrade, a man who is suffering from prostate cancer and pushing for
Yes.
for breast cancer, whatever. I'm not saying that's bad,
Yeah.
but it simply shows that in society, you know, have you ever heard about the head mentality?
Yes, the
You know,
head mentality.
it's so easy and comfortable to be associated with the men, even without even thinking.
No, guys, men are
Where
not sick.
everyone is.
How many prostate cancer survivors do you know? Do men speak up?
Are they even
Erectile
surviving?
it's erectile dysfunction.
Are they even
I
surviving?
know one.
Let's
I
speak
only
of
know
let's
one.
speak of this other thing. Let's not know cancer, erectile dysfunction. Men don't want to talk about it.
No, we talk about it amongst ourselves.
I'm not saying that men, but now this, you see, you talk about it amongst yourselves, but that's not how you get help. Because you find that men don't speak so much about erectile dysfunction. They don't speak too much about men's clinics. We speak about endometriosis, things that affect our reproductive organs. We make noise about them, so people have to
Are
pay
you
attention.
shamed? Are you shamed after speaking about it?
Who is shaming you when you
No,
speak
are you
about
shamed
erectile
after
dysfunction?
speaking about it? Would your men shame you after you've spoken about your issues?
No, why would I shame a man
Yes,
after he's
but
spoken
now
about
men are
erectile
shamed.
dysfunction?
Men will be shamed if you speak out that I have a problem.
So the problem is men are not speaking out.
Women will shame you. Let's say I go on right now on this podcast, at the start of the podcast, and say, guys, you know what? I have a problem. I have ED.
And,
They would have
and
a
also,
field day.
and I will also say the same thing
Yes.
about myself and my family, and say, my wife is in the business of beating me up every day.
Everyone will laugh at you. You will be shamed.
Your fellow men
No,
will laugh
even
at you.
women. Women will shame you.
Even
why-
if you are to
It's not
report your
many,
case,
Do you know
it's
why I'm saying
trivialized.
men don't speak up? Because let's say two kids were to walk in this room, two young children. They both want the same thing. One was to start throwing a tantrum, making noise, breaking everything, and causing commotion. You're most likely to want them to pay more attention. Then the other one just sits in the corner, never tells you that they're thirsty, never tells you that they want anything. They want you to just know that children need food. So give them food. So of course, our issues are going to be addressed because we make noise. If you don't speak about ED, who is erectile dysfunction? Sorry.
Yes.
Don't speak about it. Who is supposed to help you? You're embarrassed
I'm
with it. You are
saying,
what?
No, what I think is maybe think in terms of systems. I wouldn't even give that one who is throwing tantrums help, because I believe in discipline. I would even assist someone who is saying it maybe in
Diplomatic way.
a way that is
But that is your
disciplined.
personal, not the system. If you make noise in the street,
So in other words, men have to be dramatic.
if you make noise in the street, the system isn't, because if you sit and wait for the system to come to you and address you, the system will not.
How do women protest?
We walk in,
Most
we
of
have
the
marches,
times-
we
most of the
have
times.
races, we have runs,
you
we have all these things.
have you
Men
seen-
don't talk.
Have you seen women's protests when they are saying, we are fighting for ourselves,
for
we are
empowerment.
rioting?
Yeah, empowerment.
Have you seen them? What they do, like where they are copying it from in the Western countries? They end up even removing their clothes, a show of what rebellion. So are we as men also supposed to, go into
Should
the
I
streets?
start
strip
with just
naked?
saying, I'm hosting a program for
It's
men
not
with erectile
about saying that.
dysfunction.
No.
Let's support erectile and see how many men show up.
It's different how men and women handle these things. Like I was saying,
how are you supposed to
we
get
had
help?
our own safe spaces, and then our own safe spaces have been what? Invaded by women as well. I will tell you this, something like erectile dysfunction, right? This is something that you talk about at the local a barber. But now we've got women in these barber shops as well. These are some of the things we could talk about. My guy, you know what? I've been trying to have sex, with my girlfriend. I've been trying to have sex with my wife, but for some reason, my ding dong just can't get hard. And then the guys would laugh, and then after laughing, they would give you tips on what you can do. But now we can't talk about this because now in the barbers we now have women as well.
But what we're
in these
saying,
spaces.
I get that,
You
and I
get it?
agree. But what I'm saying is, help is not coming from a barber shop.
Yes, this was a safe space.
How is the
for
system?
us.
How is the
We
minister of
could
what
go-
supposed to know?
Let me talk. We could go to the bar, right? Back in the day, the women who were at the bar were just, the average prostitute. They don't care about those stories, right? But now we've got you, the typical women that I'm supposed to be dating, the woman that I'm supposed to be married to. You are also in the bar. You've invaded our spaces as well. I can talk about men's spaces have been being invaded by women, and you people just seem to trivialize it. I can tell you something like video games, the gaming culture in itself. It was something men used to do as an escape. Women invaded it as well. They are into that culture now. Now, if you say certain things, if you do certain things, you're termed what? Toxic. The games that we used to play, they've been what? They've been neutered down. So you see, we don't have any space as men to be fully expressive of ourselves.
Shadaya, but funding doesn't come from the barber shop.
I'm talking, okay, when we talk about
Funding
things like,
and help and
I'm
international.
talking funding.
How is Bill Gates supposed to fund you when you've said it in the barber shop?
When you talk about things like funding follows what? Funding follows what? Where the majority is.
And also,
right.
I think we should also mention that it's not like you get funding because you have said something, even if it is not aligning with capital. So you'll be given the terms of reference. I know you want to do this, you want to promote gender equality, whatever.
Yes.
It's more like you are given a template to follow.
By
So
the funders.
there is this competition these days, especially in developing countries, where individuals will be competing for grants. Which one is a topical issue? Even if it doesn't align with your own maybe values, you push for it. Simply because what?
That's where the money is. The gay agenda.
But if we are to remember, we are talking about lived realities of men. I think many men will even acknowledge that for the first time or one of the few moments when their discourse or their experience is being aired out, because it's so uncommon, because there's no value in doing it, at least a value in terms of money. So the main argument here is that men's issues are always swept under the carpet because men, to a certain extent, are treated as robots or as monsters.
Yes.
They should just face their problems because they are men.
So, to conclude,
Yeah.
for the day, what advice would you give to a young man?
Yeah, I think in this ever-changing world, it's very important to be knowledgeable, especially in the way you interact with the opposite gender, especially in terms of the law. Not necessarily to become a lawyer, but just to have an appreciation of what it means to get married, what it means to be associating yourself with a woman in a relationship, and also they should also maybe unlearning that in as far as the provision and protection are concerned, they should not be focusing more on the formal employment because it is already rigged against them. They should maybe focus on upskilling, focusing on a digital literacy, and always updating their skills so that they can survive even outside the formal structures, because the formal structures are no longer working in favor of them, especially young men. And it's always important to adapt strategically, not without, not to adapt whilst you are removing or destroying yourself in terms of your identity. There's nothing wrong about being a man or being masculine, but there is everything wrong about being told how to be a man, whilst you can actually find your strategic path on your own. I really doubt that we should be in the business of always teaching men to be nice men or something like that. We need more men who are masculine in their original forms without necessarily changing them. And what is more important, I think, is controlling their power. Especially, we know that there are certain incidents when you need to use force. And there's nothing wrong about that. To use force when it is necessary. is very important.
Yes.
But you have the force to, you have the power to use force, but you choose not to because it has no strategic value. Then you are a man.
Okay. In
And
other words,
also competence is very important before you cry for recognition or for social status. Think about competence. Are you competent enough to occupy a certain because a certain position or to assume certain leadership roles? It's very important to be competent. So
Okay.
that's what I can say in short.
okay. In other words, for men, when you are in leadership roles,
Yeah.
you need to be disciplined.
Yes.
You have to got the power, but don't use the power to oppress. Use the power to what? To protect.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah, it's very important. I think that the main point that is used against men, say men are always using force.
They
I
abuse
think
their
yes,
power.
yeah, they are forcing themselves on many individuals. But what I think is strategic masculinity will definitely dictate to you that you should you have all the power, you have the capacity to exercise number one force or to do whatever you want, but you just choose not to do it because it has no strategic value. Because you should be thinking not in terms of today only, but in terms of the future, the consequences of your decision, of your action. So that's important to use your power, your force, use it responsibly. That's all I can say about power, because everything revolves around
Power.
the issue of power.
Okay. So, before we wrap it up, we are adding what we would be calling the segment section. We just need 2 or 3 questions from you, Ghost Lady. 2, 3 questions from, you, the viewers. Can you just give us?
Okay, the first one. Hi, Shadaya. Is it okay to leave a girl because she doesn't want to be intimate with you? She used to be intimate. Now she wants to be close to God. Zviriko here. Apa akatombobata basa, now akubaka.
Okay. Anytime a woman starts, withdrawing intimacy, it means she's now giving it to someone. This is very simple. It's very simple. You can't tell me any person who has tested sex will not quit sex. They will be doing it, but just with someone else.
She could just be waiting for marriage now.
Maybe she's now a new creature.
Yeah. They say the final form of a prostitute is a religious woman. That's the final form.
You say that like it's a bad thing. And next question. Mari irreasonable yekunorora nayo. In English, how much should a man be paying for Lobola?
I always tell this, don't break the bank to marry a woman. Whatever money you're going to use to marry a woman should be money that corresponds to how much you earn. I would say in Zimbabwe, for example, the average salary is what? $200 to $300. The most you can give is maybe 1,000 when you're going to marry. That's what corresponds with the salary structure here. You can't tell me that you expect somebody who's earning 250 to 300 to save 3,000, to save 5,000. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, plus the deal is never about commercializing marriage. I think the idea is never about commercializing marriage.
Yes, because marriage is supposed to be what? Bringing 2 families together.
The most important part, and I think many people are missing that.
The last one. Shadaya, what is the most expensive gift you've ever gotten for a lady?
The most expensive gift I've ever gotten for a lady, I think it has to be my commitment. That's the most expensive thing I've ever
Monetary
given
value,
to a woman.
Shadaya.
That's the most expensive.
Money.
thing.
Let's talk money.
Monetary. I would say bought a food, at this posh place. I bought a food at this posh place. I don't remember the restaurant, but that was the most
But I
expensive
think you
thing
can
I
also even
Do you
reduce
buy
it
gifts,
to issue of
Shadaya?
time.
Time.
If you
That's what
if you give
No, we
someone
get
time,
that.
it
Everyone
means
is
No,
time
they
is
want
expensive.
the monetary.
We want to
example.
know.
it is the time that is
I've lost money.
monetary time.
No, we know that.
monetary value.
Time,
Okay,
money,
but if you
energy.
want to go material, I would say I took Mike.
date?
Yes, I took her on a date. I think it's this other, I don't know, posh restaurant.
What about actual gifts?
That's a gift. Me buying you food, that's a gift. There are fathers who can't even feed their children, and I'm feeding you. That's a gift on its own. Yes.
But have you bought gifts before?
Yeah, I've bought gifts.
You actually
because the
went in-
woman also
any-
buys gifts for
Outside
me.
of
Extra
food,
mile.
what's the most expensive gift you've bought at OK?
Now I wouldn't know, between maybe handbags and shoes. But for me, I always tell people this.
So you see your alpha is
No.
simping.
I have this policy that I always tell people. You don't buy a gift to a woman to impress her. You buy a gift for a woman who already impresses you. And that is where these young men are getting it mixed up. They are doing things to impress women.
Yeah,
You know.
that's. I think that's simple psychology and bad behavior. If you are
Is punished.
is punished.
Good
then
behavior is what? Rewarded.
That's simple psychology. Yeah.
Yes. So that ends our show for today, and I'm loving, the the question segment. I'm loving it. Keep them coming, and as always, I remember you go to our YouTube page, BETS263, BETS263. That's where you find us. I want you to what? To like, to comment, to watch, and most importantly, to what? To subscribe. Yes. And by the way, when you comment, please add the hashtag BETS263. It helps our page go a long way. Thank you very much.